cut Debbie's notes, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Is it this thing?
The young girl? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lynn's going to think she's taking really good care of that place. I like to come. It's pretty good. Yeah. I guess you were walking around I was here last year. Yeah. We don't have anything like that here. And there is Indiana Jones. Did you get up? It's not a show.
It's like a dinosaur.
Yeah, same way.
Are you getting the whole thing?
It's not the continuity's a little off, but it's really like we don't know. I like California Adventure because it's fun. Probably our best one. Yeah, exactly. When someone's talking about that, we got to go there about that, put it up the walls a little bit, and just go. There's still a lot of people that's going to come and go for everybody there.
Paul was a serious drinker.
He was, but his parks were for kids. I know. What do you get? There's a lot of people that think he still can show up on Monday. Which is what they, but it's, that's a tough sell. Disneyland in particular, just they don't like change.
It's so funny. Tori's never been in this. So we walked through the gates of the park, and she's like, look at this. And Tori said, check out the castle. And she went,
It's smaller than our house.
that's the castle. They had a tighter budget.
Yeah.
Now that you're calmer. He doesn't time every time.
Did you want to start?
Is yours an official meeting as well?
No, we're here to chat.
So it's better. It's a meeting better than a meeting.
All right, so we're going to sort of do a meeting in a meeting, so if this seems a little disjointed, bear with us. We haven't done it before. Call the meeting of the...
Is she ready?
The CDD to order. And the roll call, Bill Lucy.
Present.
Don McDonald.
Here.
Floyd McCollum. Here. Liz Pickey. Here. And John Gephardt. Present. Ask you to all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I tell you what, before we sit down, do we have a moment of silence for the Marines who gave their life recently in Tennessee? So we want to have a joint meeting with Salvation resident owners and also with Lexington here So Debbie, you want to handle introductions?
Well, I think Gary actually had name tags for everyone else. I apologize, we stuck on that turnpike, but if we can start from that end with Janice, who's with Lexington, and just say your name and who you're with.
Janice King with Lexington, Celebration Town.
Mike Munez, Lexington.
Oh, Jack Paul. CROA.
Steve Martin, Executive Director.
Diana Vasella with CROA.
Bill Lucy, CDD.
Cliff Akey, CCDD.
John McDonald with the CCDD.
Debbie McDonald, CROA.
Floyd McCollum, CCDD.
Eric Oakner, CROA. Janine Moore, CROA.
Vanessa Bridges, CROA.
Sean Gephardt, CDD.
Donna Smith, CDD.
Kenny I, CDD.
Marcus Thomas,
And thank you for our guests for coming also. Do you?
That's
No,
right.
you're on.
You've got the
You're
agenda.
on.
This is all your agenda.
I called to order and touch me. Eric, help. Collaboration, we had Dave talk about the collaboration, which is what we are just trying to do here is get the groups together and work on some common goals. I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed president for the item C, which is use of public stuff.
Thanks, Debbie. So, as most of the residents know, we have a mobile app now that's called Self-Service. That's the branding that we're branding the app here in the community. And Self-Service, the back end, if you hear the term public stuff, that's actually the company and the service that we subscribe to as a community to run. We had started to look into it from the homeowners association standpoint, mostly because, as everyone always likes to refer to the alphabet soup of everyone, they don't really care who they're calling, they just want to get something done. They don't care whose responsibility it is or what it is, they just want to make sure that it gets done. Or they can submit maybe maintenance issues that they see throughout the community, and they're able to then report that, and then it follows up with whatever the correct department that they're looking for. So let's take the example of a shrub in a park. The resident doesn't know whose park it is. The resident doesn't care. The resident doesn't care whose shrub it is. What happens on the back end is the resident goes out, they take a picture of the shrub, they can, it geolocates to their phone, so the person on the other side sees exactly where the issue is. And then the system on the back side of it, then it gets assigned to the right person, whoever it needs to go to. So if it's a CDD issue, if it's a CROA issue, if it's a Lexington issue, if it's a county issue, whatever, it then gets spit out to the right department. The CDD has actually jumped on board with being able to, like for instance, for streetlights in the community, you'll actually see when the progress updates from the CDD side, that it actually updates and it tells the resident when it's in progress, they've received the report, and then also when it's completed. And that goes for any issue that you might see. So I encourage everyone to kind of take a peek at it, and I know Steve has some statistics and some different things too, kind of where we're still a little bit in our infancy here, but it's taken off as well.
Sure, thank you. Real quickly, I have a quick printout in front of everyone. You can see that we launched on June 29th, and to do that, we announced through Celebration News, through the Friday Flash. We had a tailored email blast that went out. We have a part of our email signatures that go out for all of our emails. Through the parade, we handed out flyers or postcards to everyone, and we have a banner. And then last Friday, we had kind of a recognition of our public service, our police officers, our firefighters, and they brought out some really cool trucks so that the kids can come out and touch them and play with it. And then we had a booth set up where we were helping people download and get the information they need to be able to have cell service on their mobile phone. So you can see what the postcard looks like and what we're promoting. If you look at the next page, we have 499 downloads in the first week, 149 downloads in the second week, so we're at about 648 downloads. I believe that number continues to rise. So people can, through their mobile phones, through their iPad, they can download this and, as Eric said, take pictures and submit it to the service. We also have now an iframe that we put on our webpage so that you can submit the work order directly to the webpage. So if you don't have to do it straight to phone, you can go to the webpage and submit a work order through there. The last page is just a quick look at the analytics. It's got some metrics here that kind of show us services by departments, the type of volume that we have, kind of stats for requests that are open, requests that are closed, and then tells us a little bit about how many requests we get per day. So we have some really good information here, and it's all available to CDD. We can share this information. I believe Maria may have access to it already anyways through her admin login, so she can pull this information also. But so far, we've got a lot of positive feedback. The workflows seem to be going very well. The updates when we change the status to let the public know what's going on with it, even if it's just to say, hey, we have to push the due date back a little bit, and here's why. We're giving some information out there that's being shared, and so far it's working really well as a communication tool. But it not only does work orders, it also allows us to do push notifications. So if we have any push notifications from the sheriff's office that we can put out, if you guys have anything from CPD that you want to push out there, it also allows you to push back to calendar of events. And I know Debbie's going to talk a little bit about the calendar, the celebration one. That can live to where we can link back to that, where people can see from the mobile phone. So there's a lot of great functionalities of this app that goes above and beyond just work orders. It's really good for communication.
So one of the other things too is to keep in mind that it is a living, breathing thing. So if you know, folks on the CDD, if you guys and your staff realize that there's something that's like, hey, that's really nice that you're tracking street lights, but we have like 5 different kinds. You know, so can we segment out the street lights a little bit? That's something that it's not set in stone. It's something that's dynamic that can move. A perfect example of it was when Steve got lots of emails from me throughout this whole process. One of my pet peeves was landscaping and turf. There was only one thing that you could report that said athletic field. Well, not everything's an athletic field. We had just grass. How do I report just grass? So I complained, and then now we have a thing where you can just report a turf issue. So as you notice, and if you see something, and there is always an other or miscellaneous category for something that might be a catch-all in it, but as you use the app, it automatically updates itself for new categories and different things like that. So as you can see from Steve did with some of the analytics and the tracking of it, it helps us also understand too, maybe, you know, why are we always fixing the same bench in the same location? Or why does this one shrub or this landscaping in this one part keep dying? Before it was kind of like an ad hoc way that was like, well, yeah, it seems like that. It seems like we just replace that. Now it's kind of a very easy way to kind of leverage some technology in order to make an operational efficiency so that you can make a data-driven decision saying, hey, there's something wrong here. Let's look into this and investigate a little further rather than just keep replacing the same thing over and over.
Eric, will this eventually hook with the county where we can say there's a pothole?
So it does now, but it's seamless to the resident. So there's actually, I was following the pothole saga, because one of the things too is you can go on the app and see all the issues that are currently reported. So if you see something like, for instance, there was a pothole over in North Village that a lot of people had reported and complained about. It kind of merges all those together. So there were like literally 8 people all at once. This was the first week that we had started the app, so we really didn't have that many people on it. They were all following this one issue because they all wanted to see what was going to go on with this pothole. Well, from our side, what really actually happens is it gets reported, and then Steve, I believe your maintenance team then takes it and then actually files the report with the county. And then so the county then gets an update. So right now it's kind of a one-way push when it comes to some county issues. But I know that there is some work to try to figure out, you know, if there's a way that we can automatically push it over to them or different things like that. But right now there is a way, so it's once again seamless to the resident, that they see on the side that it doesn't matter whose issue it is, that someone's going to get followed up on.
Next item, I'm going to ask Lee to talk a little bit about.
Well, before you leave the issue, is there any action needed on that, or are the systems in place and it's working?
I guess the biggest thing is, you know, we just want to make sure that, you know, if there's anything that we can do for you guys. Because right now, I mean, like you'll see on here, you look at the analytics, the orange is the CDD. There's a lot of stuff on there that's flagged for the CDD. And I know that it can get, you know, overwhelming with a lot of issues all coming in at once. And you know, you have now another communications channel that you kind of have to monitor different things. So if there's a way that I think that, if, like I said, said, if you can segment out something where there's a workflow issue that's not working correctly, or if it's saying, hey, that's great that all these are going to, someone, X person on staff, but really if they're reporting this type of an issue, it should just always go to this one person. Then we can set up a workflow that just shoots it right over to that person. And I know that Steve has done that with a lot of stuff on their side, and I think, Steve, you're going to share some of the best practices with the CDD team and stuff.
Patrick put up a couple times to talk a little bit about this.
I think it's set up on local computer right now, because nothing set up online.
Okay.
Go this morning.
Okay.
To set it up, but it was
There was issues.
successful, so
Okay.
we'll go back next week to see if we can set it up.
Yeah, good.
And Michael, I don't know if there's a way, if we can train Michael with this, because he sees a lot, he's out and about.
Is this cloud-based or it's on a server?
It's pretty cool. I'm looking at it.
We don't have it on our server. It's all cloud-based. It's an app that you can multiple downloads throughout the community, so everybody's connected.
And it appears that that CDD has received some of these requests and has updated them, showing making progress and being repaired. Yeah.
Yeah, we're using them in the field.
You're using it in the field.
Yeah.
It's for guys out in the field too. I mean, we have our names where we're going out taking pictures and submitting. So
They all want new iPhones now, so they can get their work orders.
No excuse. And I think to the picture point with, one of the best practices, if anyone's really ever bored, and you can see how excited I get about this stuff, you can go online and look at a previous issue about a life room in Emerson Park Clubhouse, which I say is the perfect example of how this app works. Resident reported that the life room was moldy, all right? Same day it got report is received, yes, we see it, it's moldy, we're going to correct it. It was either the same day or the next day that it was marked complete with a picture of the brand new life room on there. No question that
So whoever fixed it can send in an image of the repair.
you can follow
This is really a pretty cool thing. I gotta tell you, Eric, I'm really impressed with this, the little bit I've seen.
We just brought in, I know Steve's team has worked, they've done the dirty work on it.
Talk about collaboration, because if every organization in town, ECDD, CCDD, Lex and CROA, can have access to this kind of information and then input results into it, that suddenly makes the residents' life a whole lot easier.
There's also a Eagle Scout in town that's working on defining Chandler. I don't remember the last time. It's working on defining what all the different alphabet soups, what they do, what they are. Chandler.
Yeah.
And so his ultimate goal was to make this a web page. Now, Floyd, you're working with
Mentor or whatever they call it.
Yeah. So he's building this page, and the goal, the vision, is to be able to take that and put a widget on there that can connect right to it. So if you want to know more about your governing entities, click here and you can go over and see. Cool.
Can we give him a national award if he ever figures this? This would be great. This would be great. Any more questions?
Yeah, question, is there any type of disclaimer on here, public record disclaimer or anything like that? The individuals to you what to do and know that any type of request that they're made would be available to you by the public and ultimately available on public record request upon CDD.
There is a legal tab at the bottom of the web iframe application. I'm not sure if it's on a mobile application as well. I do know that there is a way to insert legal verbiage for it. And to be honest, case, it's much more widely used government-wise.
We do have the ability, though, that we set the message that goes out when somebody submits a work order. So any work order that goes to CDD could automatically say this is public record, whatever wording you guys do.
So we can send that to you guys,
Yeah, I can put together some verbiage.
and then just.
You guys are going to be.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't look like it's in the app. So
We're going to everyone's saying, we'll send it to you guys, and you guys will get it. And then,
You only have to do it one time. If you don't have to enter it every time, once you set it up, it's automatically replies for that workflow.
Perfect. So basically someone puts in a workflow and a pop-up disclaimer saying, this is public record.
It'll be the first message that they see.
At the next food truck, could we just set up a table so residents we could help them find the app and.
Yeah, we had
I know like the last one we introduced it.
last one I know Patrick had gotten, it was really funny. He had said that a lot of people didn't come up to download the app. A lot of people came up to say, this was really cool. It should do this. So
Awesome. Anything else on that? Any questions? Okay. I'm going to ask Lee to speak about the roadway extension on the Civic Corridor.
So, of course, you guys are more informed about what's happening on the roadway right now, since you guys are creating the road on your end. But one of the things we wanted to discuss, of course, the last meeting before we had this one was about our recreational amenity task force. And one of the things we intend to do down the road is to build up, to put something on the other end of the Civic Corridor. So the question that we want to have an open discussion with you guys is, first, how can we involve you? Because we'd like eventually a road to go through there, obviously, to go through one another. And that's something that we need to discuss as a group to figure out how we accomplish that. And maybe it's something that the CDD could build as in terms of infrastructure, since that's kind of what the CDD does, benefiting multiple uses on that parcel, on those parcels, because there's a couple of them. So we'd like to open the discussion to kind of discuss really now the opportunity that the CDD can be involved in helping us with the Civic Corridor, and namely building out the road throughout the Civic Corridor, because we will need it at some point. And now you're doing road work on it now, and the discussion might be pertinent to what's going on in the near future.
So, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we're not trying to get an answer tonight. But we wanted to, it's obviously we wanted to, approach, you guys, because we're not in the business of building roads. we don't know how to do it, and know the process of it. So I think, we're looking to, the CDD for guidance and expertise, and this is what you guys do. You're a lot better at it than we'll ever be.
And we don't look at it as a private road. We look at it, this is a community road. This is going to be going straight through the Civic Corridor. Civic Corridor, I mean, at the end of the day, we hope not to be owned and maintain that road, and we believe that that's probably the best way to go about it. So I think that we've talked about it and thought about it for a little bit of time, but as a community, we're going to, just like if we were anybody else, a developer, we're going to be building some amenities. We need a way to get to and from that amenity, and we're asking for your help. So we don't know how to start that process, so we can go ahead and see.
I was just going to point out, based on our discussion for the Recreation Task Force Master Plan, Dory Moyer came up to me and said that she was at a meeting Tuesday night, and the meeting was for
second phase of the Shingle Creek.
For the Shingle Creek trailway.
And Brian was also there.
Okay, so Brian may have some more information on this, but apparently the grant money available through the state for roads and for trails that they're taking advantage of. Is there any way that we can work together to go after
Yeah, it's a very impressive trail system that they're doing in Kissimmee, and they are getting money from FDOT. So if we have some trail systems we want to add, for example, along the Civic Corridor, there may be an opportunity there for us. If we work with the mayor of Kissimmee and Commissioner Harper.
and possibly a bridge over the creek that connects the trails?
Well, there may be another opportunity that there's already a culvert there. Excuse me. But if we go up over the top of the culvert, which is on DOT property, there's plenty of room to build a 10-foot path. So, and being that DOT is being very helpful in this process, that there may be some opportunity for us there. There's no real,
Then there'd be no need for a bridge.
Yeah, it saves
Just grade over it.
It saves a lot of money.
Wow.
And it would work very well.
Okay. We're in the trail business too.
Yes, we are. We are in.
Wonderful job.
And in fact, we were in our last meeting, well, you were done, we did comment about the extensive trail system we have, the things that we have in this town, which is pretty amazing. So, but I think it's, where do we get from this discussion? What's the next thing? Do we somehow put together a working group to kind of discuss this? What's the best way to move forward? Because we'd like to start this.
Well, you know what, probably the best place, just from my perspective, would be for some sort of an outline of what kind of things CROA wants and needs and is looking for. Whether it's, are you looking for paved road through there? Are you looking for sort of just gravel access and a pathway? What kind of things are, and that's really going to come over the long haul from the task force too. So maybe it's through the task force, and then we just feed it back through to the respective boards.
Yeah.
Since that's already established, that as the task force kind of hones what the needs are and what the desires are, is that members of the task force, you and I, we go back to our respective boards and then feed that information back to our boards.
But as I guess an idea, it's something that you're interested in, so it shouldn't be an issue to approach it and kind of give you some outline. There's nothing that we're missing here that you couldn't do.
We don't know. That's why.
Right.
But from a legal standpoint, we're talking about property that is not CD property.
Yeah, well, the question is who's going to pay for it, of course. And on top of that, there's multiple land use issues with that area, one of which we are aware of is the Florida gas pipeline they're about to make there, so that'd be an issue. And realistically, coming out of what's proposed, come up with illegal.
Well, tell us what some of the legal parameters are that we would need to deal with. What are some of the hurdles?
One of which would be how you pay for it, the biggest one. I think right off the top of my head, that's the first thing I can think of. And I wouldn't even go beyond that until we figure out who's going to pay for this, how we're going to assess the public board, and how we're going to go making it going forward.
I mean, there's prohibition against us building a road on private property at our expense.
Gary's shaking his head.
You'd have to dedicate the road.
It would have to be done, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not sure anybody really, we really need that on the road, but but obviously now it's private property, but it doesn't have to be.
So we can talk about that further.
What else?
Any questions?
Really, I can go with the big issue on top of my head.
Just one other thing, maybe the golf course.
Yes,
They were not.
So we have to.
Okay, yeah.
The golf course is one of the first.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Like I said, those are my two big issues on top of my head that I go to specific.
So I think before we get too far along, we want to figure what are the parameters that we have to operate within.
Yeah, I think this is great because at one point we weren't sure if we could even do it with the CBD, and now there's a ability where it's possible, so now we can start addressing what the possibilities are. So,
Any
What else?
questions?
Anything else on this?
anybody have to say anything about the civic order? Any questions or anything? I mean,
The next.
The dog park's getting built.
right, and the road will be there.
Right.
And we're going to try to time it to where.
And the plans for the dog park look pretty cool, at least the preliminary stuff. So.
Right.
I try to help you out.
So the maintenance facility we're talking about substantially complete by January 1?
I think, Steve, we're planning on the dog park being complete around the same time.
Ideal world, the construction starts in September for the dog park. Cut a ribbon. That we cut a ribbon at the same time. Talk about collaboration. What a wonderful thing for this community. We can cut a ribbon, open the road to the new CDD out of the building, and have the dog park open at the same time.
But I think, too, it would be nice, I mean, I know, because that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure of, because we didn't want, this beautiful brand new CDD building next to like a construction zone where we're building a dog park, or vice versa. We have this beautiful dog park and then no road to get to it with, like a paved gravel path, which obviously we're trying to time it so that it works out correctly, both ways. So I think, if anything, it'll be pretty seamless from the hopes of it. And the developers have been pretty gung-ho about, as long as you guys can keep trucking forward with the dog park plans, they're not going to delay it. They're pretty aggressive about meeting the timeline.
I've met with Mark and with the construction with Arco. We've talked about time frames and those types of things. So up to this point, it's been okay for construction to start in September. So unless there's been any type of setbacks on that, there's a long schedule.
And I think the one thing, too, to point out is, like, for instance, obviously with the road going in, it's more than just a road surface. It's the infrastructure that goes along with it. So water, sewer, electric, all that sort of stuff. And CROA actually had cost savings because CDG's always doing the work there. Because they're digging up the road once, let's do it at the same time. So I know we tried to move in at the same time and do, even though we had preliminary designs, our sub-outs and that sort of thing for the area too, so that we're not having to redo the same trench twice.
And Mark reached out to us and said, hey, this is a great opportunity to jump on this, put your stuff out now, it'll save you money in the long run.
That was the easiest thing I've signed in a long time. They're like, so this, if you can sign this now, it's going to save you like $8 grand. I was like, really?
That's great, thank you. Any other questions on the civic corridor?
I just wanted to be sure I'm clear. Does substantially complete mean a C of O or?
Yes, but we're also probably going to beat that schedule quite a bit, hopefully.
All right.
So what you're saying is we need to hurry up.
That's our contractual obligation is January 1.
The next area is safety, and Jack and Cliff have been working together. We used to have a safety committee, and I think it kind of comes and goes in the community, but of course it's always a concern. So I'm just going to ask Cliff to speak a little bit towards that.
Yeah, we do conduct a monthly safety meeting. I think the past couple of months, Jack, I've invited you. Captain Lang also attends the meeting from the Sheriff's Office. Jerry also attends the meeting. Maria serves as the coordinator. If there's any questions, issues, you can email Maria. But we review the call statistics, the log, and the other thing Captain Lang is going to send us is all the calls that go into the Sheriff's Department. We will start getting all the details. There's a lot of information there, but if somebody would like to have a copy of it, we're certainly willing to give that to you. And it's all information that's public anyways. It's all coming right out of the Sheriff's Department. And as you know, we have Jerry that is here in his weekly schedule. We also supplement Jerry with additional details, and some of our details, Deputy Whitson, Deputy Middleton, Deputy Lyons, a lot of them take a number of the details, so they're very familiar with the community. I know Deputy Whitson, Middleton, Lyons, they're usually out here once or twice a week taking a detail. And the detail money, part of it does come out of the enterprise community development budget. They also contribute $30,000 to that budget. And here again, I know a couple of people, I think maybe Lori or Suzanne might have Jerry's contact number direct, and they also have Captain Lane's cell phone number direct. So we do meet once a month, and we also on occasion bring out the county. We had Ron Cole out a couple of weeks ago on some safety items, dumpsters, ponds, parking issues, and stuff like that. We also will be having the building inspector, the building department, to come out and talk about certain issues in the roads and stuff like that. But if anybody, and we talk about things that are short-term, long-term, and how we keep connected. But if anybody has any items, feel free to email them to Maria, or if a resident gives you a call. I know I do find in the community, a resident sometimes will ask me something, and in the safety, anything involving the sheriff, I know Jerry runs into residents. Typically, sometimes they'll say, they'll tell us about an issue or something, but don't mention my name, and we never do, okay? Sometimes I've given Captain Lane something, and I don't tell him who or anything, and we just say, would you maybe check this spot or check this location? And also Captain Lang has been out to a couple of houses in East Village that had issues, a couple of houses in North Village. Andy is very good about going out, knocking on the doors and discussing the issues with any residents. So again, if anybody has any issues, or if you get a call at Town Hall, feel free to give them over to Maria or Jerry, either one of them.
I think that would be also a good time, since I told Jerry I would do this. The sheriff has their own app as well. Jerry, I don't know if you can share the same story that you did with me about the success.
I was going to do just that. First off, as Cliff was saying, I can give you, here's the calls that required reports from this past weekend. And this is not just a celebration here.
How many times has Eric over there?
This is just from the West 192 area over the course of the 3-day weekend. Burglary to motel, larceny, another larceny, retail theft, larceny, stolen tag, burglary to a residence, larceny, fraud, burglary conveyance, larceny, retail theft, an information call regarding somebody leaving something later on that they shouldn't have. Lewd and lascivious, burglary motel, criminal mischief, and a larceny. Out of all those calls, we had a weed whacker stolen off of a landscaper's vehicle in Celebration. So by and large, for the area that surrounds us, we're doing pretty darn well. If I go down further into the just Poinciana Boulevard down to Poinciana, sex battery, burglary residence, another fraud, larceny, burglary residence, criminal mischief, fraud, larceny, burglary residence, fraud, another larceny, burglary conveyance. It just goes on and on and on. That just goes to show that what
You guys are busy outside of Celebration.
Just one of those calls was Celebration.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Outside of Celebration, you guys are busy.
And unfortunately, that takes up a lot of our time. But just it goes to show that what happens here in Celebration, and I'm not saying that the guy's weed whacker off the landscape is a minimal type of crime, but what happens outside the world is far and large, much worse than what we have here. It's a great thing that, we got a lot more residents on board now locking their things up, calling in suspicious people, suspicious vehicles, stuff like that does stop the crime. So it's a good thing. So I would remind people, keep calling that stuff in. That's what we're for. What Eric was talking about too is we have a new app which went online Food Truck Friday. We've been playing with it ourselves for a couple of weeks now. It's on Android as well as the Apple market. There are 2 Osceola Sheriff's offices in the country. We don't care about Iowa's or wherever they're from. But there's one for us. In the course of the 8 hours on that Friday, when it went into play, it was actually made it on the news. So 2 guys and a girl robbed a lady of her purse and in her car just down in Poinciana. Within 8 hours of that app going online, a resident saw that, said, "Hey, I know that guy," and put that app there, put the tip in the app that we have, and resulted in 3 arrests being made for the robbery.
And here, you can make an anonymous tip, I believe, too.
Yeah, the app goes through a number of different things, and I even have it on my phone. There's crime tips, there's fax information, there's sex offender list where you can type in, or it goes geo-based and shows sex offenders that are around you. As I'm looking in the area there, you can tell. There's a property tab on here as well, where you can go through your house and type in VCR, Sony, if anybody has a VCR. But you can go through these apps, and if something does occur to your house, you already have an itemized list of your valuable items. There are tips on there. You can type in anonymous tips, speeders, anything like that goes to the right area.
Jack, you need the Zach. Come on.
If you have tips on road activity or anything like that, that also gets forwarded. Last Sunday, I was in here. One of our traffic units who actually receives the tips called me up, and there was a tip over in Siena saying, "Hey, this car's been sitting there for a couple of weeks," and it was just kind of suspicious. But he knew I was working, so he called me and said, "Hey, can you go check it out?" I met the complainant out there who just happened to walk by and mention, "Hey, it was me." And he says, "Wow, that's fast." And so how long ago did you put it in? He says, "I think about an hour ago." So these tips are happening, and they're getting doled out as it occurs. So please look at the app. There's a lot of cool stuff on there, a lot of good tips and information. If your kids are in school, there's links to the SROs, the school resource officers' emails. If you have a problem at the school, bullying, anything like that, that goes direct to the school resource officer of the school. So there's a lot of cool things on there. Look into it. It's a neat thing.
Add the ability to zap the bully on their iPhone, and you got it.
Well, no.
I like that.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Gary.
Celebration 1.
Celebration 1 is an effort to get all the activities and meetings and events we have in the town on one calendar in one place. Vanessa has been working with me diligently on this, as well as Leah, a community member. The calendar will come out at the end of August for the school year, and have just what the theme of the calendar is in honor of the dog park. Celebration has gone to the dogs. So every picture, every photo for each month has a dog in it. Every month is sponsored by a different business or organization in town. And the calendar is fully sponsored. It has one sponsorship left if anyone's interested. This is an example of our lead month, which is September, and it's our firefighters.
This would be the count. This is just the top of the calendar.
It's going to be 24 inches long. So
12 by 24.
24.
This is a printed calendar?
Printed calendar, and then you're
figure that part out because I'm not really good with that part. But and everything's because the dates obviously we'll have rain dates, things get added, things change. But right now we have.
Here's Mr. October.
Mr. October, that's Leonard Tim's dog, Sam, who luckily had a photo of Sam in the pumpkin patch. And this is one of the volunteer photographers for the project, just got a new puppy, so I asked her to take a picture of it at the Artisan Leaf. Thank you very much to our volunteer photographers and everyone in the community that's helped put this together. We're printing about 1,500 for every organization that wants to sell them. $5 goes to their organization and $5 towards the cost of the calendar. So it's, $5. Well, yeah, and then any money we raise goes towards dog park, and then about 20% of it is going to the Help Now Shelter in Osceola County to hopefully build some kennels for the people that come there who aren't able to bring their animals. So that's the goal for that. Any questions?
I know you guys were also, I don't want to breeze over it, with the, you guys had mentioned that there's going to be an online component of this as well.
Yes.
And I know, like for instance now, with, jumping back to the app, there's a button that says calendar. It takes you to the existing calendar, which I'll be the first one to say it's kind of junky. It's very convoluted to try to understand and manage. And I think what our goal is too is to be able to have it in one spot. Understanding that, when the CDD meeting changes or something moves or the location changes, that obviously you guys maintain your own calendar, but let, us know that too, or if there's an event application or something like that, that we can kind of get looped in on that so that then it can get added to the online calendar as well. So that when some residents going, well, when is that? Or, I want to go, complain to those guys at CROA or whatever like that. When is that meeting? They're able to go and look it up all in one spot. The goal is to be able to always direct residents to one spot, even if because like for instance, if you notice the app even has the call sheriff button, but it takes you to other places that we don't manage. That's kind of the point. So that it's just one spot where you help people to direct out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal. I think Mike's going to get me some dates or Janice also for the Lexington events. Maria got me the dates for CDD. All your meetings are on there for the calendar year. Of course, they may change with the different wards. Ours may as well, but right now we're just putting them on when we have them. And again, if the printed stuff has to change, you just go to the online calendar and find the information. We contacted all the clubs and organizations from the marathon committees to the Boy Scouts to the Garden Club. What else have we got in there? PTA, you name it. Yeah.
Schools. High school football games, all that sort of stuff.
Right. And then hopefully Mike, he always was very nice and kind of prints a lot of those for everybody in town, but maybe he can print less eventually and they can serve on the calendar and also everything. When you guys have a rain date or something changes, just let us know. We'll connect to it online and make that change for you and get the word out so that when they call and say, well, why aren't those guys answering? It's like, they do have to take a day off, so at least they can get the information. Any questions on that? Anybody?
Well, since you mentioned football, put another little plug for Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, I understand, is going to be doing the food service with home football games this year. So.
Oh, yeah.
Nice upgrade.
There you go. They also sponsored one of the months of the calendar. We had a photo shoot with 17 people, a cow and a dog, and 2 convertibles. It was quite the craziness on Sunday, and the rain came. Yeah, but we got it all done before that, and they were gracious enough to open up on Sunday to take care of all that, and just could have been more patient and wonderful with all that. The principal from the high school who was supposed to be in the shoot confirmed 9 o'clock Saturday night, and then was sick the next morning, so we brought in the football coach, and it all turned out very well, but they were great with that. So they're a wonderful support to our community. So, and as far as the future schedule, we hope that we can try to do this again with a little bit more ease. And thank Jerry for spending a lot of time working this out.
Well, you did all the heavy lifting. I just encouraged you.
Yeah, so he was wonderful. We really appreciate it. And I think there's a lot of committees in different directions that we've expressed interest in to work on, and perhaps we can have one person from CDD or one person from Lexington work together to try to I know sunshine laws, they can't have 2 people in the same room, but one from their board and one from our board, and perhaps work together on safety, on the roads, on further collaboration. I know our county commissioner had planned to be here and had confirmed a couple hours ago, so something obviously came up in the county that is, I'm sure he'll be here again at our next meeting, but we really appreciate all you guys.
And a suggestion there would be probably these would work more easily if we did it during a workshop rather than an official meeting, because it's a little more relaxed. We're not transacting business.
Yes.
It's still open to the public, but
We originally had planned for that, and when you get to
I
summer
understand, it didn't work.
schedules, yeah. The hardest, the next meeting will not be during, either your meeting or...
summers are tough.
Summers are tough, and to get these people, they're so busy, all these leaders in your community, to get them all together on the same date is, I'm very... And I think, just want to thank everybody for their time and turn the meeting. Is there any other comments?
I think the only question that what's people's temperature on it? I mean, I don't want to have a meeting for the sake of having a meeting, but also just as far as scheduling wise, it makes it a little bit. I know it's personally for me that I have a little bit of a leeway out. And so I don't know if it's something that if we want to discuss and kind of get back, maybe to Gary and let Gary and his staff communicate out to you guys, and we can maybe propose a couple of dates if you guys think that works.
Yeah, quarterly, every 4 months.
I would think, something like a semi-annual, that because we've only done 2 of these in all the years I've been on either board. This is the second one I'm aware of. But to do them fall, spring, so that it's in the really heavy workload period of the year for both of us, where we have lots of workshops, and then to schedule it in a workshop format, so that it's a much more casual, open conversation.
Right.
Mike, your thoughts?
We're open to the biannual or quarterly, whichever you choose.
Is that a good thing?
It's nice, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And that doesn't mean that it has to be only biannual, but in other words, we want set dates.
But that we can set dates,
No, but we could be ad hoc, if there's an issue that comes up, then I'm just saying that the workshop makes it's much easier because it's more relaxed.
Yeah.
And we're not really transacting business anyway, so it's just a matter of...
And then we do it in such a way that maybe the fall one, for example, it's scheduled at a CROA workshop, and the spring one is scheduled at a CDD workshop. We just go back and forth and attend each other's workshops formally. You notice, but informally.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think I'd like to see possibly some committee breakouts, because there's so much going on with the civic corridor. This is a huge project, and you guys are meeting together, but we may need somebody from CDD to help with the road situation, and perhaps Jack and Cliff can take the safety issue further, and maybe we can have possibly some breakout committees.
Yeah, and originally when we started this, we did do that actually, right? When you and I did finance and something. So I think maybe we'll kind of revisit and kind of talk to CD. So we won't it won't go away after this meeting. I'll follow up.
And I've got all your numbers.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, she definitely has everybody's phone number.
And the only thing
You've never seen a phone so full phone number.
One quick thing for Michael and Janice, if before you guys leave, because this meeting is very long and everyone is welcome to stay, CDD has to stay, but you guys can come back. That's right. Before Janice and Michael leave, if you could arrange just to help them with the public stuff, some type of meeting where you guys can set that up, where they can give you a little bit of information about that. Steve, anything?
No, that's it. Just make sure you guys grab your name tag so that we can get out there and see these with.
Yes.
Grab your name tag.
Diana? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Against all odds.
Okay. Gary, are there any administrative matters that we need to...
No, sir. There are not.
Ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to move 13C to 10E. And moving the new facility up after
13C?
13C.
Okay.
James here.
Okay.
Sit for the rest of us.
And move it up to...
10, become 10C over here.
Okay, everyone all right with that? Yes. All right, all those Mayor, would you bring the tech recorder as well? Oh, okay. And actually, the next item is public comment. So if there's anyone here who would like to address the board, on here it says to complete a speaker form. I haven't seen one yet in the last 3 years, but one day hopefully we'll have one. But in the meantime, please.
Get your microphone.
Let's go by the mic, then, because we're going to actually use all mics, or well, we're going to use CROA because we're having a problem with it.
Okay. Good enough.
Tom Keaton, 114 Rosemary Way, out in East Village. I had a question and concern on 13A, Special Events Policy and Fee Schedule. So one of my concerns through the years has always been how everybody works together. Sometimes we work together well, sometimes we don't. And I think this is one of those things where we might be nickel and diming certain things.
Is there a specific?
Well, primarily, yeah. I'll be very specific, personally specific. So for the area around the lake around Market Street area, that has always been used for special events. Always been used for the Santa House, or as some people call it, the Santa Hut. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be wrong on this, but my understanding is we want to charge additional fees for that area, or for the use of it, whether it's maintenance or usage, whatever the case may be.
That's not exactly right, but go ahead.
I just personally don't want to make sure that we're going to change anything in the way it's actually being run.
Okay, well...
so I can ask you if you can elaborate a little more and maybe correct me.
It's always changing, so this should always change. Mm-hmm. The question is the direction of change. So maybe, Floyd, you want to address what we're doing in terms of fees, or?
Yeah, Tom, the board has had, for an event, say fireworks the other day.
Sure.
We have a cost of about $3,000 for cleanup and certain things. So we've been paying that. With our budgets the way it is, we can't just keep paying that.
Sure.
We agree to that. So that's where the fees have come from.
So what I would ask on that is, the $3,000 that actually would cost for those types of events, is it something Lexington can go ahead and clean up, or is it has to be exclusive to?
We asked them to, and they did not. They were not interested. So that's what the board came up with moving forward. In fact, this year, Gerard actually volunteered to do cleanup of, I forget how much, and we took some money out of our budget and shifted it around to cover the rest.
Okay, so there's no way to go ahead and resolve in terms of those additional fees how that works. Is it just primarily?
We're still there.
It's not a set. Yeah, we're still.
Okay. So this is a discussion item. It says so. Right. Okay. All right.
I've definitely expressed objections to some of it.
Okay. So, and here's a personal thing, because somebody had told my daughter this, and my daughter's a little loyal to Santa. In terms of, is there any discussion of maybe changing the way that is being run?
It'd be up to the policy.
It has been discussed. This board has discussed it. I know I've made the comment. My objective is not to run the Santa out. And it's not like we get hundreds of people coming here complaining about it. Okay? So this policy has been drafted, but let's be clear, it has not gotten 3 votes yet.
And one of the things, too, Tom, about the policy, what we're trying to come up with is some sort of consistency. And this began, I believe, for this board when somebody came to us wanting saying that they were going to give a portion of the proceeds to charity. And and then we've had people wanting to rent sailboats off the promenade and put gondolas in the water off the promenade. So we're trying to come up with some consistent policy as to how to handle all these requests that turn out, in essence, to be for-profit requests, to turn that into a bazaar. Really, when you got somebody selling.
No, I don't disagree on that, but
we're just trying to, and we're haggling over the policy.
Right.
Okay.
There was components in the different drafts that dealt with the events that were already in place. We haven't agreed on what the final outcome of that was, but we took into account, I think all of us agreed, we're not here to try and run off the people that have been here for a while.
Right.
But we do need a structured policy as we move forward because, it's getting bigger. We had the sailboats most recently, came back again. And we just need a policy. We need a way to deal with that.
No, I don't disagree with having a policy. I mean, people that know me, you got to have some sort of standard process in order to go ahead and deal with certain situations. But I guess, I'm not sure who said it, but to run out the people who have been operating it in an effective way, in a legal way, and we're putting that forth, celebration as the best, that's kind of what we're looking for. I just heard different things of saying, well, it's something the CCD could run or something like that. I know, but
the CCD wants to run anything.
I hope not, because when CROA tries to run anything, it gets bad.
Despite the fact that everybody thinks we're rolling in dough,
right?
Our budget has now gotten to the point that either we have to find ways to recover some of the costs, some of the things that CDD's been giving away for years,
right?
And so we either have to charge fees, usage fees, or we will have to raise taxes.
And we did discuss it. Yeah, we don't want to do that. And we have discussed options where we could have the people that are throwing the event cover those items like the cleanup in lieu of us doing it. We're still looking at all of that. Yeah. But the bottom line is we can't afford to fund it. We just don't have it in the budget.
Okay. And again, I understand the process. I still think hopefully more discussion can happen with Lexington to go ahead and deal with the particular issue. First answer for me in business would always be no. And the second answer will be, well, let's see a little more. Relationships are very important. Hopefully that's not going to be frayed here because don't want to see, I guess there's certain things I just don't want to see things change. I do know, and Don, you know this, whenever you ran different things in CROA, like the haunt, you were infamous haunt. Oh, well, let me correct that. It wasn't yours.
Wasn't mine.
It wasn't yours. That, some good ideas sometimes might turn out to be very bad ones. So that's pretty much all I had to say, and thank you for your time.
Thanks. Is there anyone else who want to address the board tonight? Mike? Come on over, grab a mic. Here you go.
I didn't actually intend to speak today, but I just wanted to address one thing that someone just said, which board member said, that Lexington was not willing to do cleanup. And I just wanted to address that because not only did we have a cleaning crew clean on CDD property until 2 a.m. on July 4th, but we also paid for coverall cleaning crew to bring an additional crew back the following morning to do cleanup. So I'm not really sure where that statement came from, that we weren't willing to. And I also don't understand how there could have been $3,000 worth of cleanup to do when we already paid $2,000 for cleanup for that same area. So
just wanted to answer that. Mike, you were actually at the meeting. We asked Brian what our costs are. It's not just in the village. It's not just at the Esplanade. It's throughout the town. We have to bring signage in. We have to clean up trash. We asked what that cost was, and you said that was not your responsibility to go outside the Esplanade. And that's how we got to the point that you were not willing. When we had costs brought to us, you were here.
So we're being asked to clean up beyond the boundaries of the event.
No. The question was, someone had said, could Lexington clean it up? And Floyd's response was, we talked to them about that, and they said that wasn't their responsibility. I would agree with you. It's not your responsibility.
But the purpose of the fee would be to cover that anyway, so we would be forced to do it, basically what it is.
Well, that's one
who's paying the fee? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things we've been talking about is what makes up that $3,000. I know I've asked, I know a couple of the other board members asked. But I don't think it is fair that you should have to clean up stuff outside of your area. But we need to, that's why we wanted the breakdown of the dollars.
Okay, but I just wanted to put that, that we did have cleaning crews here to clean up the CDD property where the event was held.
Good, thanks, man. Anyone else want to address the board tonight? Okay, moving right along. Ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes minutes of the June 9th meeting and minutes of the workshop on June 16th.
Move to approve, subject to...
And the invoices and checks.
Yeah, invoice and checks, both. A and B, move to approve.
Second.
You said with corrections?
Oh, yeah, subject to corrections that I know are coming.
But they're already out.
Oh, they're already out. I saw you sent those. Okay, so I move to approve, then just as is.
Okay. Any further comments? Discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Public hearing for adoption of fiscal year 2016 budget. Gary, would you like to address the budget?
Certainly, and thank you. I always like to start with the conclusion and then get a little bit of the detail. I think you're all familiar that this budget does not anticipate increase. Some additional good news. Celebration Village will pay off its bond indebtedness in May 2016. And the way we structure this budget is because we really know we can't get revenues to make the November 1 payment. We've always, from day one, forward fund the November 1 payment. There won't be a November 1 payment for the Celebration Village part. So the assessments for debt in Celebration Village will be about 25% of what it usually is. And then next year, there will be no debt component.
Great. Wow. Great. Okay, I can stay now.
Yes.
Now, get no hurricanes to refine.
Stay tuned.
And interestingly enough, some of these other debt service funds are going to start falling off in 2018 and 2020. So, for the most part, we're getting pretty close to being out of that.
Wow. That's great.
Some things you need to be aware of that I've added to this budget, primarily for information purposes. The board is all familiar with your construction and maintenance. Part of those expenses will be incurred in this current fiscal year, and part of those expenses will be incurred in the first quarter of our next fiscal year. And we have shown that in this budget. And we wanted to do that because it affects fund balance, because we're building and building out of fund balance, as you're all aware. And then I also took the liberty to look at our fund balance and allocate some of that money to reserves. Because when you look at our old financial statements, we will carry what appear to be fairly large fund balances, which was a good thing, but we also have reserves that are necessary. We have another hurricane, and it's been in 2004, that cost us $1 million to clean that mess up. And we talked about boardwalks at our last meeting, and we wanted to update those, put funds in for boardwalk construction and reconstruction. So there isn't as much fund balance available that is not committed pursuant to this budget.
Now, may I just interrupt for a second, just for the home audience, because there does seem to be occasionally some confusion over, because we were just talking about how our budget is tight. You're talking, this is a capital budget as opposed to an operating?
It's a combination of all of it. I mean, we have to reserve 90 days of working capital because we don't get our money from the time our fiscal year starts in October until December. So we have allocated money for that purpose. I have it here because I have, and this is discretionary on behalf of the board. I did put money in here into an account called assessment stabilization, which could be in any 1 year there is a project or something that the board desires to undertake, rather than having to raise assessments for just 1 year, which I think causes confusion in the community. I put in there an assessment stabilization reserve. As I mentioned, we got boardwalk and trail renewal replacement that I've added, the disaster relief I've talked about. Roads and alleys, we've always had that as a reserve, as we continue to carry that forward. We also have always had a self-insurance fund. And when you look at all of that allocation, again, because we're going to be dipping into our fund balance by about $2.2 million, we really end up with about $37,000 in free money, free fund balance if we keep these reserves the way they are. Having said that, these reserves really are only meant to identify future expenditures that we have a probability of experiencing. If something happens, if we have a hurricane and it costs us $2 million, you gentlemen sitting as the board of supervisors have the right to reallocate these reserves and use that money as you see fit.
So what did this take the unallocated fund balance from? What did it drop to and go to reserve? What was the total dollar on it?
The total dollar value that we ended up with in reserves was $3,113,000.
So in that $3 million, is some of that capital, such as a boardwalk replacement? If you replace, so it's coming out of capital dollars and going into this reserve?
No, this would not be coming out of capital.
Not coming out of capital.
Just a straight reserve. If you look at page 11, it has the breakdown. There's two.
Was this done in conjunction with the audit committee? Or?
No, this was.
You haven't looked at it yet?
Oh no, I've looked at this before because Gary and I have been in conversations for probably.
The question I raised a couple months ago about the unallocated funds, you've basically taken them and put them into reserves.
Which, in a sense, that they always were, but it just didn't appear that way.
Right, you
on the financials.
created some line items and given them names.
Right, and as he said, we can, as a board, depending on need, reallocate.
Sure, right, we all have
Otherwise,
that option even if you left the money.
But it's kind of nice to put them into categories.
Right.
Because otherwise, someone takes a look at the financials and says, "Gee, it looks like they have a lot of money sitting there," and they don't understand that it's there for a specific purpose.
I move we approve.
I actually have some questions too.
Notice of the public hearing, so before the board takes formal action on the resolution.
But do we start with the motion and then open up to public comments?
I have questions after the motion.
Okay, move to approve.
No, I think we do public comments first. Yes.
Okay, public comments first.
I prefer to have a motion on the board for board discussion, but for public discussion, it's better before.
That's good.
We have a motion in case it affects what motion we were going to make.
Okay.
Otherwise, it seems like saying we're going to go ahead with this no matter what you say. So you're finished in terms of what you'd like to say about the presentation. All right. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to comment on the budget as presented? Come on, Paul. No questions?
He's happy his taxes are going down.
Don't raise my fees.
Motion to approve.
All right. So now, entertain a motion to adopt the budget.
The motion to adopt the budget.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Okay. Can I ask my question?
Please.
Okay. Just one, I have a couple of breakout for building expenses and revenues. I saw we have the net gain of building rental income. Should we break that out further, or is it, I'm just asking from a point.
I didn't put it in the budget because I gave you a handout a month ago.
Yeah. Right.
The budget,
I guess I'm just saying. Yeah, that's why I just wondered. I don't know. Just thought it might be cleaner to follow if we know what the expenses are versus the.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Could be just determined as appendage to the.
Yeah. Well,
to the budget.
And probably in anticipation of your next question, that's how the budget allocations will be made for the balance of this fiscal year.
Well, I would prefer to see where the money goes and comes versus just a lump. Clearly, we could come out 2,000 ahead. Myself, and it's not a big deal to drop that in.
You can still approve the budget.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It doesn't change anything.
No,
It's just
everything
right.
I think everything I have here is just, there might be some minor typo things, but it's nothing of serious.
It's not a huge deal.
So it's expanding the reporting, not changing the
Yes,
budget.
right. It's just instead of saying
Okay. That makes
we have
sense.
a round of $2,000, and that's the whole explanation of the building.
No, that makes sense.
Okay, let's see. Two was,
But, I mean, there's not a major expense in terms of dropping this into the presentation. Okay.
No, it would just be part of the descriptor, or I don't have to add. If you remember what I did, I put together a budget for maintenance of the building.
Yes, allocation.
And then that was allocated out. And some of the benefit, as you're aware, is the rent that we were paying drops out of the
Right.
budget. So you took all of that into consideration, we ended up a couple $1,000 ahead of where we were last year under that.
Just thought it'd be cleaner to be able to look at it and say, well, this is what we're getting for this is more expensive.
Okay.
So the Carlisle maintenance assessment is in here. I mean, I know it's minor, it was only $1,500, but that's in one of the buckets.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
When we say Carlisle, we're not maintaining Carlisle. There's a parking lot between Stetson and the Carlisle that actually belongs to CDD, which the Carlisle was going to maintain. They haven't been maintaining it. So we're taking it over. We're taking over maintenance of it. They still get use of it, but they will be paying us, will compensating us for maintaining it for them. But it's CDD property.
Yeah. And then you'll, further back to the building rental, you'll just some minor typos, I think, on page 7, the R&M vegetation removal. The budget shows 25 and it shows 22,847, so just for the leftovers, so we pick that up. And same with miscellaneous contingency on page 9, it should be 72,858 and it's shown as 7462. I think that was, yeah, and then the last question I had is something, we've talked a little bit about it, and I don't know whether it's not going to affect the budget, but it's something I think we should discuss at this point. Was, you know, we talk about what expenses we're spending to fix the county things, to fix FDOT, anything else. You know, is that something, and Brian, you were going to start to put something together for that? You know, what? So I think at least we can just like we do cleanup for events. We're spending a lot of money on the county stuff, and we should know what that is. And frankly, I'd almost like to see it as a line item in the budget. It doesn't really. About fences when we shouldn't be fixing them.
Well, we've kind of pulled back on that recently on what we're doing as far as county roads now, and we're notifying the county on necessary repairs that they need to do. We're trying to push it back to them. Cliff is kind of leading that. So we're going to.
So it's going to be zero? For 16, the budget is zero?
Ideally, that would be where we want to go because of the county's involvement in permitting and everything else that they want us to do. Yeah. So we would be more than happy to turn the county issues over to the county.
Yeah, could we, Floyd, get a summary sheet, a position sheet, so we know exactly what we're doing, what we're not doing, and an outline?
Yeah, I mean, if we're still doing something. Because, again, if we're spending even $50,000 a year, that's a big hit to the budget when we don't have the money.
Just so it's documented.
Yeah.
We got follow-up.
Yeah.
Every other meeting, we're not revisiting the same question.
Yeah.
What are we doing for them? Because they've made the statement back to curb to back to curb.
Right. And I'm not doing anything back to curb to back to curb. Okay. I'm staying off the roads.
You pay them enough.
Okay. All right, thank you.
The only thing that we would be, which is in your budget, is streetscape. The only thing that we're doing on a county property is expense to the community. Right. And we have that contract amount, so that's a solid amount. Other than that,
you're not fixing potholes or
all right, good.
Putting in new roads or.
Chairman, the motion is cited with the evidence by the adoption of Resolution 2015-06.
Okay.
So if it's okay with you, gentlemen, we'll show that as your motion.
That is my motion.
No. Any further discussion? Thank you. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. And ask for motion approving Resolution 2015-7 for levying the assessments.
Make a motion.
Second. Discussion. Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Contractor third-party reports, safety, security, anything else on that?
No, I think we went,
We covered it.
in the joint meeting, we covered that, and the county issues. We did have Ron Cole out from the county on code enforcement, and we'll also be having out the building inspector next month at our next month meeting.
One thing on that, this is the second year that it's a great time during the summer to get lines striped around the school. Can we put some pressure on the county to get those, while nobody's parking there, it'd be a great time to designate those parking spaces.
Yeah, I do have a call into her again. Yeah, I'll call her again tomorrow.
I'd be
In fact,
happy to
I
get a
think I'll
can of
stop
spray
at the
paint and
county.
fix it myself, but 2 years is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, you
Anyone
take
else?
the water side, and there's a lot of them, so I'll stop up and see her now.
And while it's not a CDD issue per se, there will be an issue.
No, it's not, but if we...
No, something else I was going to say, that since you bring up about the school, there will be an issue this August into September at least, because the townhouses on campus are going to get that segment of campus, I understand, to be closed at times. But my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's not going to be permanently closed. It'll only be closed when they're using that equipment, and they will try to schedule that so that it doesn't interfere with the school buses.
Correct, and they've already been advised to have their correct MOT out there and flag people and stuff like that. So when it's going on, it should have not a whole lot of impact, but...
But people need to be aware, it's going to be a fairly major inconvenience for probably 7 or 8 weeks.
Yep.
Okay, there's no major contractor this week. Celebration Company. Anything you'd like to add to the party?
Just maybe 2 follow-up comments from last month. We did talk with the developer for the C15 parcel, and they will come to the meeting in September to present their project. So there's one of the items. And the other item, you had asked about the boardwalk and daily, weekly connecting up to the boardwalk. So they have run their sidewalk to the boardwalk already. They still have sidewalk to do along the pond's edge in the 3rd phase there, and they will be doing that sooner rather than later. So it won't have a project at the beginning of the project. Okay. And then, also, they're going to take one other 4-foot sidewalks that they have that was there by the lift station, and they're going to run that sidewalk as a 6-foot sidewalk on the Celebration Boulevard in addition to it. So,
It's nice that you can do it.
Yeah, actually.
No, I don't think we get the other places to do it.
So we're going to, oh, please.
Jim, anything on the C15 developer coming in to tell us what's going on?
You just said.
He just said.
we just said they will be here in September.
In September, I'm sorry.
He's deep with stuff.
No, there's a county issue I missed, and that's why.
Yeah, there's nobody here who's more thorough.
It's too many notes.
Get lost on that.
You have too many notes. Thank you.
Okay, status of the, anything else? I don't want to cut you off. Okay. Thank you for being here. Status of the new facility and next steps. That's good to hear.
We are moving right along. I remember the last time I was in the Clapton's board, it was some time ago. They're waiting on the metal building to be delivered. It's down to the cross on the first. They knew how long it was going to be on the track, so I don't think the schedule at all. They've been doing a lot of road work. Right now, I'm getting more for back there and all the equipment. So that's been quite long. We're up to date on our
I'm sorry, could you, or just pull the microphone over by you? Just, or sit over there? Thank you.
Are we gonna, this is going to the recording, or is it going to?
Yeah, so I say.
On a direct purchase. There'll be several items that the CDD will be writing checks directly to the supplier to save the sales tax. It's probably in the neighborhood of $150,000 or so. We add everything up, which is a savings of between $8,000 and $10,000 depending on the final amount. So that'll be a deductive change order at some point during the process. Actually, that's about it. Everything's going fine. Just normal stuff. And so once the building gets here, I believe it's about 5 weeks to put it up. And so you'll start seeing some structure and then some finishes. So it's going well.
Questions?
One for Gary. Just the ECDD long-term lease, is that we're moving along on that?
Yep. My understanding was there's going to be a berm there and then shrubbery to screen it from the golf course?
Yes, and well, there's a berm there already. And then we'll be actually putting trees and shrubs on the golf course property, which is where the berm is. Rather, if we put a 10-foot tall tree on our property, the berm hides it. So the golf course agreed to let us put more plants and trees on top of their berm. So yes, that'll be shielded.
When does that happen?
Generally, landscaping is toward the end. And then later, just so that it hides the building. But
yeah, I was surprised that I was over at the golf club the other day, and in my mind I thought, well, it's behind the lake. Nobody's going to see it over there. Of course, the golf course and it's front and center. It's the first thing you see. It's this construction site. When you step onto the golf course. So, I would think if that could be. Doesn't affect costs or anything else.
It shouldn't.
The sooner that could be done, but certainly the better the golf course would like it.
Okay.
Then it's golf course got to be the prettiest thing in town. It's just too bad that they have that there, even though it's only in a short time. But I think we can shorten it more.
Sure.
I'm sure that the golf course would appreciate it.
We'll talk to them.
Okay. Anything else? Thanks for being here.
Okay.
Appreciate the update. Okay. Action items. Partner.
It's all dated stuff.
Oh, it's all right.
Not to go too far.
Good.
No, we're through paying.
Hold your seat.
Oh, we're never
Okay, pay application number 3 from Arnco.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
They deserve it.
Well, maybe fill us in a little bit, just.
Oh, I don't have that one.
Okay, that's just.
It's just, how long is it?
It's in your.
I understand. Okay. I just wait for an audience. So. All right. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Change order number 3 from Arnco.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Invoice from FCM for Florida Green Building Coalition certification.
I need to discuss that. That is actually part of my invoice that was already approved somewhere further up, invoices and check register.
Okay.
So that should not.
It's already done.
It's already done. His invoice is part of mine, so I pay him, so you don't have to pay him.
Okay. So D, use application from Laura Wilson for Rousseau for peaceful protest at Town Center. Okay, scratch D. Use application from Living in Faith with adhesions for awareness walk, September 26th.
I wasn't clear on what they were doing. Yeah. They mentioned vendors.
And I did some research, and I cannot find any filings with the IRS for a nonprofit. I mean, they claim they're a nonprofit Florida corporation when they filed with Florida, but there are no 990s on file with the IRS. They're not listed as a nonprofit. This could literally be for profit. Unless you file a 990.
We don't have an event policy that restricts that.
No, but what I'm saying is that we so far have tried to restrict our laws to legit organizations. And I don't know that, I've never heard of this.
I looked it up as well. I never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. I mean, Florida.
We can go find anything.
I found things on the website, but nothing that made me feel any better. But again, back
are they here?
With the vendors, yeah, maybe they're here to speak.
Yeah.
You know, the vendor thing.
I mean, because I'd like to ask some questions about it.
I mean, there's still time. We have a meeting in August. Could you reach out to them and find out their status? And are they tax exempt? Maybe they have an IRS number?
We'd like them to come and talk to us.
Sales.
Yeah, we'd like them to come talk to us so we can understand what they're doing.
Yeah, what it is
Because I don't understand it. I'm like you.
So, motion to table?
Yeah, it's
Motion to table E.
Okay, second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Use application for Florida Hospital for Pink on Parade on October 4th. Accept the motion to approve.
Motion approved.
second.
Discussion.
Where's it going? There was no
Around Main Village, there's a map.
There was?
Yeah, it's coming down, it looks like it's going down campus, through downtown, back up water, and then by my house.
Because our map is not, doesn't show anything.
Right by my house. I always run by my house.
It's because you have free food.
It's good. No, yeah, Debbie brings free food.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. District manager, financial statements, anything additional?
Just that we have collected all over and at the local surface.
100%? Wow.
And you get closer to the end of the fiscal year, I'll bring back to the board a pledge of them that will incorporate the handout that I gave you that shows the capital expenditures this year. We'll run that into the budget.
Field operations, Brian.
You have my written report in the back of your agenda, which also includes Tom McCutcheon's report. Pass that along to Tom Gerard, and we're going to meet next week and go over his report. And he's got a lot of suggestions about plant material, which if we did it all, it would be very expensive. So we're going to go through and try to pick up the hot spots.
Well, explain since we have an audience, what was the report all about?
Well, he went through our landscape.
Who he?
Tom McCutcheon, who is our consultant for landscape. He primarily concentrated on North Village and went through and he does a review of all the trees, the turf, the shrubs, soils, that type of thing, and then he comes back with a report. And from that report, we review the report, and I get with our landscaper, and we go through and find the areas that we can repair easily and inexpensively, and we go ahead and do that. And the more complex items, we get proposals from them. I have them review as well, and we try to solve those problems over the period.
Good. Anything else?
No. Have any questions from my report?
Questions? Yes.
Just a question on the McCutcheon report was about the palm trees at the Esplanade at the fountain. I think if we're going to seriously look at something, we ought to get involved in the design. Just don't want to see one day the palm trees are gone because
I'm going to do that
right now.
That's iconic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to figure out other ways of going about that. First, he did. Well, it seems that once we took that fountain and we turned it into a swimming pool, the chlorine levels caused the palms to. Tom has had different opinions in the past, but as time goes on, he's coming around.
And that's why the trees keep dying.
Pardon me?
That's why they keep having a problem with the trees dying.
Keep having to replace them. They last a fairly long period of time, but over time they start to decline. So I'm looking at maybe some other options, whether or not we put a collar around their raised collar so we're not getting so much in there, and find other ways to put different types of mulching on top which will dissipate the chlorine levels. So I'm looking into that to resolve that problem, but I wouldn't do anything unless I look for it first.
Great. Any other questions? Brian, thank you. Anything legal issue?
The other thing is,
that's kind of out there right now is the stimulate turnover. We're trying to schedule a meeting this week or later on this week. According to them, they completed the punches. I was asked Brian whether or not that's done, if they doesn't want to walk through.
We've created punch lists for them. They're getting close. We've got some issues with Duke Energy and street lighting. Most of the easy things, I've told them, okay, we'll take substantial completion. We're not going to maintain it. We'll just say, okay, you guys completed it, but we're not going to own it yet. And I won't do that. I won't take full ownership until I pass it through the board. But there are a couple sticking points that we're trying to get over on some of the wiring of the street lights and that type of thing.
Yeah, so that'll be completely settled throughout the office this week, and probably get a little more back more next month. I think the roadway, if we're talking about doing roadway this and border, which was discussed during the meeting, probably you need to get some preliminary concept of what you really want to do. They're going to do a dirt path, they're going to do where it really will that how it will be discussed what's going to happen to the pipeline. Okay.
Does the pipeline stay pretty close to 417, or does it veer off of that at all?
It's about 15 feet off of the DOT fence. Off the DOT
but it stays 15 feet off?
It's pretty consistent all the way around. And actually, eventually, it goes back on the DOT property for a period of time.
I think that can be tabled for a while until there's something more substantial.
Okay, any other legal questions, Brandon? No, thank you. What do we have on, there he is. You're over here. I'm looking for you over there. All right, Mark.
Really just keeping tabs on the maintenance facility building. Construction's underway. Just to give you a feel for it, the majority of the underground utilities are in. They've set the lift station, so they're making a connection to that. Starting grading the road, as previously mentioned, they're starting to bring in the stabilized subgrade. That's the road clay that you're seeing going down. So it's going pretty well.
All right, any questions, Mark? Thank you. Joint committee.
No update.
Audit committee.
Nothing to report.
Special events. Policy fee schedule. You want to lead a discussion on that?
The only thing I had was page 5. My vehicles picked it up once, but not twice. It still says automobiles. That's the only thing that I saw on the change from the board looked at. Page 5. Yeah, is it insurance? Vehicles. It says automobiles. You changed one, but there was 2.
Now, the question came up about possibly grandfathering things, and we've kicked that around. We're not ready to vote on this yet, correct?
You have a public hearing about a rule in your background.
So right now, this doesn't deal with any grandfathering. How do people feel about that as a grandfather?
Yeah, from the beginning, I thought we needed to make sure that the events that were here originally continue to have access to the space.
Do you have any sense of what those events would be? Be specific about it. Because if we're going to have a policy, we can't just say, the old things are
The ones that are annual events that happen every year. The
I think
car show, the Christmas period.
How many are annual? Do we know Christmas. July 4th?
I can't think of any others.
I can't either.
There's some stuff with Halloween. It starts around Halloween time.
Yeah, but there's no Esplanade event at Halloween.
I guess that's true. What's that? Oktoberfest, yeah, that's up in the front.
Okay.
So, I think the things that happen every year, we need to, in my opinion, protect those.
Okay. Are those, do they tend to be Lexington events or CROA events? Or?
Probably
Lexington events.
Mike, would you say they're all Lexington events? Yeah. And it's Lexington that drops the application?
Some of them are combo.
Yeah, some of them
Like the Founders Day thing?
Yeah, some like Founders Day is a combination event. Some of them were events that originally started out as CROA and then kind of just became ours, such as Oktoberfest, which was formerly called Fall and Movie Festival. So some of them started out as CROA events, but rather than see them go away, Lexington took them over.
So do we have it right, just what we have here? It's October, it's Christmas, it's 4th of July.
And Founders Day.
Car show in April,
Car show.
July 4th, Oktoberfest in October, and now snowing, which happens the first Saturday after Thanksgiving, December 31st.
But the question would be, what part of any of those events would run afoul of our draft policy?
I think the big question we have is something like the car show. I think it was the way I was reading the policy, being a not-for-profit was pretty much covered. I mean, they would be able to continue without an issue.
Right.
It's really the July, the October, and the now snowing events that I had questions about what makes up that $3,000. And there was no, we had originally talked about, or in lieu of, the person throwing it covering those expenses, covering the work. So I'm still waiting to hear.
Brian presented that many months ago.
Well, he said it was 3,000, but I asked for a specific breakdown, and I haven't got it.
He had one that night.
Yeah, it's, for example, putting up for 4th of July, it's putting up the signs along all the roadways for the parking because there's so much parking. And then you have quite a bit of people walking in and walking out, so there's a lot of trash, tons of trash. And then it's just the maintenance of the Esplanade itself. For example, when you have the Santa Claus and the shade structure, every year we repaint the shade structure after that, which is we've done all along just because it's such a wonderful event. We do that. But it's basically the outlying areas, and for years we were removing trash downtown as well. But Lexington's gotten much better at cleaning up after the 4th of July fireworks.
I guess what I'm struggling with is if Lexington's going to do the downtown, and it's a little bit of a stretch to ask them to do the space away from downtown, how do we get to $3,000? Because we're not.
He was saying, I think it sounds like you're saying that prior to them cleaning up for the 4th, we were doing some of the Esplanade cleanup. And the other thing that comes up is that the events might do negatively impact, particularly those of us who live in the main village. They can drive us really nuts. I mean, literally one time I tried to get home and it took me an hour and a half on the 4th of July from the airport because the parking is a disaster. I mean, there were literally people parking on the golf course.
Okay, that has nothing to do with it.
No. What I'm saying is that we're paying for the signs to get people to better parking areas, and I do think that should probably be a Lexington cost.
I don't know. I mean, how complicated is it to go around and stick signs in the
No, but we're talking about big.
Well, yeah, you have a lot of people that ignore the signs, so they don't have a repairing side. And I mean, we've got a lot of.
I get that, but that's not really Lexington's fault.
Well, it's a combo. Yeah, because it draws the community in of a community of up to 10,000 people. Some of us who like to just flee because it's so scary. It draws in 25,000 from outside of Celebration, and generally speaking, these are folks who can't afford to go to theme parks.
I get that, but we
get a lot of damage in front of our house. You don't live in the main village. I gotta tell you, I pick up beer cans in front of my house every 4th of July.
I know, but
that wasn't you?
It wasn't me. I wasn't here.
At Halloween time, we all get the same thing. The people walking over the grass to kill the grass. They throw trash out of the grass.
That's not an event that's being.
I get it, but there would be no expectation that we charge for that. I mean, the homeowners could,
we're not
step up on
that.
something.
Just happens naturally. That is not the scheduled event.
Right.
Halloween is not scheduled. That's just the tourists coming in here.
Well,
I think there's some middle ground here. That's all I'm trying. I'm trying to say that instead of if it does really cost us $3,000, I hate to see CDD eat all that.
Yeah, I'm just having a difficult time figuring out
what the $3,000.
Just the fee. Maybe
We're
talking $2,000.
We're talking about potentially approving this at our August meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a August workshop scheduled?
Yeah, on August 11th.
Have you read the policy?
I'm not, just in my opinion, I'm not is we're charging people for. Because when we originally talked about having a charge, I was expecting something in the hundreds of dollar range. And when I saw 3,000, and I know we did hear that that's what it was originally, I'm just asking the same question. What is it that makes that up specifically? Because we're not really being given a choice as a board. Should we be charging them for that or not?
We could be. In other words, we could ask that when the application comes in, we can decide what the fee would be per application based on our estimate of what the out-of-pocket. And if it were something that's, we want to grandfather meet the cost on, the board could choose to do that.
Well, maybe if I can make a suggestion, we could all, maybe in the permittee agrees to reimburse us our costs for any additional pickup or maintenance that is necessary after the event. And then we would know with certainty, and he could contract with Gerard or whoever he needs to contract with to do whatever is necessary. We would then send them a bill, and to the degree they don't pay it, then they fall off of the grandfathered list.
And then we'll have parameters as to what that specific cleanup expectation is.
So as long as there's an expectation of this is what would be considered,
scope of
and we agree to that, I think that would be fine.
But it's not resodding on a golf park.
I don't think that that's their responsibility. If someone pulls up on the grass, that's really not Lexington's responsibility. That's the person that pulled up on the grass.
It's a private event. That's what you're
I get it, but that's
live in the main village.
I get it, but that's not occurring in the main. That's something that's happening outside the scope of where they're throwing the event. If someone pulls up on my lawn,
it's because of the event. Those people, you don't have 30,000 people come in. Where are they going to park? They don't park anywhere else. They park in everybody's yards. They park blocking everything you can imagine.
So in my case, call the cops on them. That's what I mean.
Try to get somebody. They can't get in. They can't respond. We've tried that with tow trucks.
We've had tow trucks,
and that still doesn't fix the side.
How many people did we tell?
That still doesn't fix the side. Doesn't fix the damage that we have to fix. We don't have the budget.
I guess I just disagree. I don't think that's
pick the money off the trees. We don't have the money.
I get it, but I'm having difficulty holding Lexington accountable in this case for something that a person is doing on their own.
Because they're there for his event. That's why they're here.
But that doesn't make him liable for their stupidity.
Well, who is? So you're going to try to chase it down?
Yeah, I mean, they're responsible.
Your suggestion, if we have 2 extra Gerard guys come in the day after, Gerard gives us an invoice, $500. We would then give that to the applicant to pay us.
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, it's $2.
Yeah, it's $2. And again, as long as there is a scope of work.
Would be included.
Right.
Municipalities and counties.
Do it all the time.
It's cost recovery.
Yep.
And that's all we're trying to do is recover.
We're not trying to make money on the deal.
Okay, in terms of other things, we're obviously trying to set a policy that allows us to turn down people who want a commercial enterprise on it. How do we handle something like the Santa House where they are selling photographs on CDD property? Can we grandfather that?
I think we should grandfather.
We should grandfather.
What else?
Again, the car show, because they've got stuff.
There are already someone coming.
We've talked about this before. The only thing we could come up with was a Santa House.
Yeah.
That did not apply to it. And we talked about getting a grandfather. I think we all agreed on that.
Yep.
And what was we came back to our attorneys and they said that was not a good idea. And that's where we flipped it back out.
But I think we can do it, and the odds of us getting sued over it, I think, are slim to non-existent. But we'll get through you. Oh, come on. How many times have we been sued?
No, I'm not.
You've got a public who'd like to comment, even though she's out of order.
Before we go there.
Can I speak?
Yeah, it's okay.
No, I won't, actually.
Is it okay?
I'm just teasing, please.
I'm not sure that, as far as the policy that, I mean, you guys, I know you're looking at forming one, but I think CROA, we are also looking at forming one because we have people that use the space and it's resident space and we do have damage, so we've started to ask for deposits and other things. Would it make sense at possibly your next workshop or at another date for CROA representative and possibly Lexington and you as your board to discuss or to try to work together on a policy to come up? No?
I'll tell you what, we already have a policy. So, in other words, we're ready to vote on it next.
Yeah, it just covers our space.
But in other words, we're more than happy to share that with CROA if that would, help you in any way formulating your policy. But we're already.
So when you guys formulated this, did you give any type of notice to anyone to look at, or you just formed it? I don't know, because I didn't.
Yeah, well, tonight, so
This is like the fourth meeting on that.
So we haven't talked about it. Mike has been in touch with us.
Okay.
Trust me.
Okay.
So, he's had several opportunities to interact with the board and with us individually. So, we're well aware of his issues. Is there anything, Mike, that you can think of other than the Santa house that's in the policy that you found questionable or difficult?
As far as like retail on city property, not the Santa house.
Yeah, that's it. Right. So if we grandfather that in, really the rest of the policy, other than you're obviously concerned about any fees that might be incurred. Sure.
When we go back to what we were discussing about the fees and things, I don't think people understand the amount of money that we put into these events and things that sit on CDD property, such as the Christmas tree that we spend $25,000 a year on. That's as much as a community tree for the residents as it is for as bunting and July 4th, and we keep buying new ones every single year. That's all decoration on the CDD property. We never ask for you guys to help with the cost of that. So it's a little discouraging when we're being asked to cover cups and stuff that may or may not be directly from the event. Probably, yes, I agree. When you have that many people in town, when they're walking to their car, very well it might be trash. But it also could be that resident that lives there having friends over outside to watch the fireworks. There's no way you can tell exactly where that trash comes from. But like I said, we try to be a good partner with the CDD. We decorate your property every single year for the holiday events. We never ask for a dime back. The Christmas trees, about $25,000 because we have to constantly refurbish the decorations, pay for the stage that it sits on, pay for the storage of it, pay for the lighting, replace lighting as it goes bad. And like I said, that sits on CDD property. It's not just our tree, it's not a Lexington tree. That's a tree that the residents would be just as disappointed if it wasn't there as the visitors of now snowing. So when we feel like we're being asked to pay for things that are outside the scope of the event, which may or may not be our trash, it's a little discouraging, I'll be honest with you. We've had a great partnership with CDD and CROA for the last 12 years, so we're a little shocked that now suddenly we're being asked to cover things that we've never been asked to cover before. The events are not something that we have to do. None of these events are mandatory. None of these events, when we took over the property from the celebration company, did we have to continue past the first year. But we do it because whenever the discussion has come up, hey, this event costs Lexington $60,000 to put on, our return on investment really isn't there. Honestly, we're not getting $60,000 back in what we put out there. But we've talked about it before and we've discussed, should these events continue? And then we hear from the residents that, oh my God, I moved here because of the fact that I could walk downtown and go to these events. Are you kidding me? You guys, I hope you'll never cancel these events. So I just want you to know that it is a little discouraging when we hear talks about being charged for something that we've never been charged before, yet we keep on doing as much as we can possibly do to be good neighbors. And like I said, that's not just a Lexington tree, that's for the community. The decorations, the Santa house itself is $12 grand a year it costs us to put up, put down, store. We don't make a dime off of that. So we just hope that when you guys start to vote, you start to consider how hard we try to be a good community partner to you guys.
You do get experience Kissimmee money as well, don't you?
We get experience Kissimmee money only for advertising. It is absolutely nothing to pay for. You cannot pay for administrative fees. You cannot pay for materials.
I'm just saying you get some help.
But
Radio advertising only is what they'll cover.
yeah, and let me just to your point though. I appreciate the events you guys do. I sometimes they drive me crazy because I'm in the main village, and I just think way too many people show up. But I also know that they're primarily done that as a for-profit corporation. If it didn't benefit the merchants, there would be no reason to do them whatsoever. The merchants would be up in arms if you didn't do these events because they bring them a lot of money. I mean, the town tavern is packed for these events, for the Now Snowing, and every mall or even downtown merchants association out of their own pockets does the bunting, does the Christmas tree. They do events. Baldwin Park does events that their merchants association pays for. I was just out in Washington, and their merchants association was doing a big downtown event in Redmond, and they don't go back to the town and ask for money for those. And I guess what we're saying in our case is that we just don't want to be out of pocket directly for some of these things, and that's why we're looking at coming up with a scope of work kind of a thing, so that if you guys don't do it, then we have a means by which to get it covered. But the whole town covered? No, but it would be nice though, Mike, if in the future we and CROA and you could sit down and figure out better plans for traffic flow, and better plans for security, better plans for towing the idiots who come to the event that is benefiting more the merchants than certainly me in my neighborhood, to bust those people, to tow their cars, to ticket them, to boot them, to whatever, so that it stops. I mean, we've tried plans like busing, but we need to come up with something.
But you still come back to a core thing. This community downtown really not set to stage huge events.
They didn't build big enough.
Didn't build it, right.
Yeah. Well, one way or the other, I don't think anybody here wants to kill the event.
We don't want to kill the
So I don't want you to leave with that impression. And it is true that the CDD apparently in the past has eaten a lot of cost. It's just that budgets are tighter, so we're trying to tighten up where we can.
But I mean, it's also to the point where we spend such an exorbitant amount putting these events on, we're stretched thin. I mean, it's to the point where we can't take on any more costs. I mean, and so too, when it comes to busing and traffic and all that other stuff, I don't want you to know that's not something that we take lightly. Ask Andy. We meet regularly with the Sheriff's Department. We say, okay, what if we do this? What if we do that? What if we do this? We meet with the busing company. Okay, if we shut down this street and this street and this street, can you get the buses there and there to get people back and out of the way quicker? Every year we try to get better. But every year we also meet with the people that run, Lake Eola's event and Red Hot and Boom, and we ask them about their infrastructure and how it works for them. And guess what? No matter what they've tried, they have the same problem.
No, it is tough. And I don't.
People with unfamiliar territory, people come in, they're not familiar, they don't know which way to go. It causes the traffic congestion.
It's very tough for you living.
Yeah, but every year though, it's not like we take it lightly and we just say, who cares? You know what? As long as they get here. No, we don't have that attitude. We meet with people regularly. We meet with Andy and we meet with Public Works and we talk to people and we say, okay, what do you think we could do different this year to try to make this work? So it's not something we take lightly.
Okay. Mike, thank you.
Thanks.
So I think what we're talking about is that the fees we'd be requesting would probably be a lot more modest than what the policy seems to allow. So let's see how that goes, and hopefully put the policy in effect.
And please come to because we won't have a policy until after our next workshop, when we can sit down and pound out some of the details, right?
But in any case, it's the obviously could be amended in the future. But I guess we would ask that somehow we craft some language in here that would grandfather in the Santa Claus house.
Really what they just expressed, if the community go down that level, the question is why.
Santa Claus is second.
Here's the thing. Yeah, there's no doubt about that at this point. So, in other words, election draws the permit. So they're decorating the house, they're doing all that stuff. It's a question of we have a policy against commercial enterprise on there. It's a matter of allowing them to have a photographer in there taking pictures.
So
And then they're selling the pictures, not the...
Correct.
That's the commercial.
But that's what we'd like to.
Right, if someone else comes up and says, well, I understand that they've done it in the past. Why can't I do it if I'm doing the exact same thing on the exact same procedure? Why?
It's because it's the event sponsor that is
Yeah, it was never...
that's drawing the permit.
It's such that if, we have a contractor who we've had a relationship with, not necessarily a special relationship with, but a relationship with, historically, they've proven through historical performance, they do X, Y, and Z, and therefore we're providing, craft specifically for that. Has to be, it'll have to be very, very narrow compared for that service. Try to work through some more language, go back forward and put some with it here, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Okay.
Now, you understand, Mike, this is in large part to keep other guys, literally, we were trying to keep a competitor off of the Esplanade for your stores. I mean, we would almost have to say yes to them because of that. That's why this is so complicated with the Santa House, is that we don't want to have to say yes to somebody who wants to set up a jewelry stand across from your gift shops. So it's in large, it's protect the community at large. That's why this is so complicated. I just want you to understand this is not a personal thing.
We're not doing this to protect the businesses.
No, we're doing it as
we don't want that
to turn into a commercial plan, but it's doing as much for you guys as for anybody.
But that's an unintended consequence. Thank you. We'll see you work on that, and hopefully by the workshop in August.
We do, and by something with the workshop too, which kind of get you there.
Good.
Your lawyers, come on.
I know, that's what I was going to say. You do this all the time. This is what we pay you for.
Figure it out.
Anything else on the special events policy? Questions, comments? Okay. Celebration Avenue Bridge, is that complete?
We are 99% complete. Got a cleanup work to do.
Looks so good.
Yeah, it's still a little bit tidying up and little detail work. Yeah, it looks good.
Everybody understands what happened at, I think it was Floyd, it was your idea that it was a long been a problem that the passage on the Celebration Avenue Bridge that effectively goes over the golf course, the abutments there were so big that it made the passage very narrow. And with Floyd's guidance and Brian supervising this, cut them more than in half, right?
Literally moving mountains. Those things are solid rock.
You can actually use that now.
Yeah, it was nice.
So it's much nicer. So it looks great. Congratulations. Thank you.
Job.
Evander Square Boardwalk. Where do we stand on that?
We're still, we're struggling a little bit to get the meeting date set up, of course, because my schedule is a little tight. As we stand right now, we'll have a meeting next week, is what we're targeting, and we'll move forward on that.
Okay, we'll look forward to hearing from you.
You know how opinionated I am about that.
All right. Any other business? Why don't you have the floor, Bill? Supervisor comments, questions?
I'm tuckered out.
Okay.
I'm good.
Totally tapped out.
You got a bunch. Ouch. 192 banners, did we get the specs on those? And we're good to go on that, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, I believe is the gentleman that you met with was talking about the banners.
But I think he thinks we are going to put them up to get them. Okay. To purchase them. I don't think. I thought the city was going to provide us the banners. You have to deal with your banners.
Okay. How much are the banners? Just out of curiosity. How much are they a piece?
They're not that bad, because I bought for trade shows.
I was going to say we could buy them for cheap money, but knowing how things normally go, they're like $500 a banner, right?
$100 a banner.
Yeah, I think for another community, they can sit and buy them.
And how many banners do we need?
There's not too many. There's not too many. If it's a half a dozen, I don't know if it's that many.
We just take up a collection.
Seriously.
Comcast? Comcast? I mean, I don't even know where it's
talk about it every month because nothing happens. Cliff, do you know anything about Comcast?
Nobody knows
They were
anything.
supposed to have a person here. That fell through.
So are we just going to just forget it, or are we going to do anything? I guess.
I say we forget it because I don't think we can do anything.
Okay.
I just don't see how we have any clout.
I don't get the sense that they care about us.
No. Okay.
I just said that on record.
Yeah, it's okay. I say that all the time. I say it with
Cliff, you were going to get a sheriff cost breakdown. I know Bill was looking for that.
I did get it. I thought we sent that out to all the board members, no?
No.
What, the breakdown for what?
Oh, the sheriff's cost? You did send it to me. Did you send it to everyone? Yeah, I think when we get something like that, it should go to everyone.
You can send it out to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. What else?
Cliff, on the details, and I'm bringing this up for the neighborhoods, because we talked about this, that they were not going to do any traffic. But they did traffic. So what's the deal?
Traffic? You, I think.
Yes.
4th of July, the details were doing traffic.
The details on the 4th of July were in the village.
No, they weren't. I talked to,
Okay, I'll double check.
yeah, I'd like an accounting of understanding what, there's at least one. Well, I mean, we're a board here that sat here and said they will not be working traffic.
Exactly.
And we talked about this, and I was told, no, that never happens. And it happened.
And I had the same thing with Halloween last year. There was 6 cruisers parked around downtown, and they were all standing around talking to each other.
Halloween.
But they're not even crossing people in the crosswalks. I just want to make sure we weren't the ones that were paying.
No, not for Halloween.
But we are for 4th of July. So we said the board needs an accounting. I don't have to me, I want the board to have an accounting.
We should have it.
Yeah, for what's going on. And did we get the road evaluation report yet? I missed that when we were in the county, that's why I missed Jim's question.
I was hoping
to get the road evaluation.
I haven't seen.
No, I'll ask Goodell tomorrow again for the road evaluation.
You know, and I think, something that's been bothering me since they were here last is that they just threw out there that they support our stuff at a D level.
Right.
And we just seem to accept that. And that kind of bothered me that, with the amount of money that we pay them, nowhere else in the world would a D level be acceptable. And I just think we just absorbed it, and I don't think we should have.
Well, we as a community.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
shouldn't
it's
have
us as a
absorbed it.
community. As a board, we don't have it all on.
Right. They are frank. They say we provide in the sheriff's service D-level service.
I mean, it's to the point where we have the sheriff's county asking them to paint lines, and they give us excuses for 2 years. I mean, this is just, it's out of hand.
No.
I know, but
If you do go around Osceola County as a whole and other municipalities within the county, you may notice some of their levels are not that high.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that that's okay.
No,
is what I'm
absolutely
saying. I
not.
think we all can
No.
agree to that.
Right.
Is that if I treated my
But by the
customers
same
that
token,
way, I wouldn't have customers anymore.
We said that at our board meeting, when we talked about doing maintenance, we said on the higher visibility levels, maybe we have to deter the back, like Artisan Park, and they pay the same fees.
If a county representative was here, they would say they are obligated to provide a uniform level of service throughout the county. They cannot come in celebration and treat us any differently than they treat ER Young.
That's the problem.
The problem is we shouldn't accept it that they treat everybody at D level.
But they have to.
No, they don't.
You don't understand how poor, you really have to look at the numbers on this county. I was told 20 years ago before we moved in here, do not move to a community in Osceola County. They will never be able to provide the level of services that Winship County can. Well, they're a little better, but not. Seminole, we're not Seminole County.
It's not acceptable. And I felt like, personally, after we were told that, we all just sat here and said nothing about it, and it bothered me.
Wow.
And as a board, here we are picking up their work for them. Now this year we're not doing it. It was really upsetting to say, well, we're only going to cover you to a D, so if you want to do it, if you pay for some of the road, maybe we'll talk to you. That's not okay. Why should the CDD pay for something we're paying our taxes for?
Well, you have,
You said you were done.
no matter what,
No, but
the
I
county, they'll tell you their number one expense is their county jail. That's a huge expense up there.
Again,
saying it's right.
Again, that's,
I just can't.
okay. Our next,
Can I say something quick?
please.
As far as the officers go, on July 4th that you were talking about, we had 6 officers downtown, and we had an independent security company stay in town so that when fireworks go out, went off, all 6 of our officers could go out and do traffic control. So I'm not sure if the ones that you saw were the 6 that we sent out to do traffic, or...
Right, Floyd, do you know exactly, did you talk to, did he say it was a detail for CCDD?
I have records that there was a gentleman directing traffic at the front of the bank that was our detail.
And he said he was here for the CCDD?
He's our detail.
Okay,
CCDD.
I'll find out who the deputy was.
And
Do
I
you
understand,
happen to know
and
the
I understand there may be more. And like I said, I've seen this year before, I've heard it before, and so this time I thought I'd check.
We had 6 that were assigned just to traffic detail.
Okay, this isn't your issue. I mean,
Right, it's not
I
yours.
just wanted to know that.
We'll find out.
So it could be some confusion, let's find out. But I get a sense that Floyd's right, that we're not getting the biggest bang for the buck out of this sometimes.
I can't tell you 6 deputies can't run traffic in this town on 4th of July. You need double or triple that.
A lot more than that.
To do it efficiently.
Okay, our next workshop is scheduled for Tuesday, August 11th, and the next meeting will be on Tuesday, August 18th. Both those will be at the public library. I don't know, is that still campus? Is that the address? Yeah. On campus.
Well, we're getting a new sign here.
Otherwise, I'll accept the motion for adjournment.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. I appreciate those of you who stayed on the bitter end. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't find any. I can go to the nonprofit. Everything I could find was all kind of squirrely. It's not like somebody, somebody's got that disease and they made up a... seriously, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, that's...
So I went out to the Spring Park and went through the woods and started working my mailbox. But I didn't look at any one particular mailbox. But the older ones, there were nails across the street. The older mailbox staying up. Put it towards the counter, they can fix that.
They would be very happy.